staff at my current employ, and they sort of like it. So you might want to use it if you so desire. If you don't want it, you can shred it. I mean, it's just information. What? Without own means. What?
She's referring to me.
Oh, she's referring to you. Oh, okay. All right.
It's the inside comments.
Oh, okay. No problem. That's an A and B conversation. Okay. No problem. You ain't hurt my feelings. Don't try to write down all this wordage I got up here, because you're gonna have a hand up. You may not get it today. You probably will get it next week, because paper is hard to come by, and I actually did this with the goodness of my heart, because I don't really have to do this.
Oh, we so appreciate it.
You only saying that right now, because
No,
I
we so
hear.
appreciate it.
Mm.
Don't tell me in there.
Good night, good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raymond paper really going up. It ain't just BP&L. So I gotta go buy the paper and print as many copies. So if you got a buddy or a partner, they can share a copy with you.
You can send it electronically.
I can send it electronically. Yeah, that's an idea too.
It'll save us.
We can print it ourselves.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever.
We working with you.
You working with me?
Absolutely.
All right, you all hear what the new girl said, right?
Right? You are the new girl.
Okay.
Oh, mine don't
To
care.
him, you're the new girl. He never saw you.
I'm just met him.
What you knew though?
Shh.
You sound like a
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good conversation, but we'll move on from the new girl. So, governance, risk management, and compliance. Get those in your stratosphere now, in your head and your vision, because you're going to be writing on those a lot in this particular paper. Governance, risk management, and compliance, for short GRC. We use a lot of acronyms in compliance and financial services. Some you may be familiar with, a lot I'm not even familiar with. So when they talk about the GRC, it's governance, risk management, and compliance. It's really an umbrella term covering an organization's approach to governance, risk management, and compliance. And that's just a short little acronym that they throw in there, So if your manager walk by Brian and say, "How are we looking with the GRC?" What's your response?
That was enough from the day we started.
Okay, well. And of course, the GRC is related to three facets, three branches that help assure an organization's reliably achieve goals and objectives. Governance is the combination of processes established and executed by the directors or the board. We can have a whole session on just the board, because they play a big role in this. As a matter of fact, in most of those scandals, which we saw in recent times, the board were involved, turned a blind eye. That word profit keep popping up. When you have to report to the shareholders, hey, we looking good right now, we positive. And then you turn those blinders on. Yeah. So governance is a combination of processes that established and executed by your directors, board of directors, that are reflected in the organization's structure and how it is managed and led towards achieving goals. So they settle goals, they have a strategic plan. And the board is responsible for being the tip of the spear to execute it. Risk management is predicting and managing risk that could hinder the organization from reliably achieving its objectives. Compliance refers to adhering with mandated laws. Pretty straightforward with the compliance side of it. So with the GRC, you got your governance, which is overseen by your directors. You got your risk management, because in every sphere of business, you're going to have some risk. Yeah? And then you have to mitigate. And then you have your compliance. How do you deal with it? Because you're going to have regulations, you're going to have policies and procedures, then you're going to have laws. And you have to adhere to all of those. So it's a balancing act. Yes, you have to meet your goal of your profit, because you're in business to make money. Let no one fool you. You don't go there from 9 to 5 just to practice compliance. You're there to make a profit. However, you have to balance risk and reward. Yeah? So governance, risk management, and compliance. That's the GRC. So that's my introduction to you guys. Okay? If I'm talking fast, please slow me down, because I don't want to make it seem as if I'm watching the clock. Yeah? I know Ms. Dawn gonna say something. Risk. it all boils down to risk. Yes, we started off by talking about attitudes and rules, but it really boils down to risk. There's so many different types of risks that we face every day in the financial services and sector, whether it's regulatory risk, and the kiss of death for any institution is having your license revoked. You're regulated by your primary regulator. In most instances, it's the Central Bank of the Bahamas. If your license is revoked, do you know how hard it is to get a bank license? Very hard. So they're not going to just give you a continuation. You have to reapply. Getting a bank license in the Bahamas is not a slam dunk. You don't get it in a week. So if your license is revoked, that's a challenge. Yes. So you always try to be on the good side of your regulator. Yeah. Reputational risk. Image is your brand. You can see this a lot in some of those case studies and scenario. Image is everything. You have to protect your name. You remember, I'm not the oldest one in here. You remember when you're growing up, your parents would always tell you, I can say that. Remember when your parents would tell you, boy, your name is all you got. When you all go, you try protect my name, yeah? And make sure you put on clean underwear, because you fall down the road, people can say, well, that's Bucky child. And and I gotta protect my name. You remember your folks used to tell you that?
Yes.
And then you're so fool, you used to wear 2 set underwear. Remember that?
No.
I was the only one who was wearing 2 set underwear.
Yeah.
You want to remember that?
No. No.
Well, mothers. Anyhow, you remember that legal, right?
No.
No? Okay. Well, anyhow, you have to protect your name. Image is everything. Again, if you have issues with your regulator, we are in a small community. You think anyone can hear about that? Yes. You remember Harachi? When that bank closed down?
Yeah.
Everyone knew about that, right? You didn't touch them with a 10-foot pole, right? There was another financial institution, which name I will not call. They had their license suspended for just, I think it was 2 weeks. And it was in the paper, it was alleged that more than $1 billion went through their account facilities. And they had to change their name. Well, they changed their name. They started doing little stuff like clean up the roundabouts. And my friend in the back is smiling, Genesis smiling, she know what I'm talking about. But anyhow, I ain't calling no name. So you can say Randy's name. So they did little stuff like clean up the roundabout, all these little charities, they started doing little stuff. They had to protect their name. Or put a new coat of paint. Yeah, to image. Image is everything. You're only as good as your name. Yeah? And remember this is
Christmas.
there you go. Profit risk. This is a major one. You're going to see in some of those case scenarios and that we'll talk about. The board is under a lot of pressure, believe it or not. Because if you're bringing in $10 this year, you think in 2019 you can come back with $10 again? They have new projections. So Nerissa, they can say, well, Nerissa, okay, wow, you brought in $10. Great. Next year we expect $25. Well, the Bahamas is only so big. The market is only so big, it's a pie. So Scotia, you cut them out. Cut out CIBC, cut out Royal, there's only so much pie. But you as the relationship manager, there's a lot of pressure on you. There's a lot of pressure on the board. You have to go and pound the pavement to bring in new clientele. Yeah? And there's only so much credit cards you can sell one person. I don't need another credit card. I don't need another fix. I don't need, So there's a lot of pressure. There is profit risk. Yeah? So loss of market share, remember that now, because you're trying to increase your tentacles in the market, increase your share. Affecting profitability and share price, because at the end of the day, when the stock exchange at BISX, they say, oh, a bank AB, they down again. Really, ain't no one trying to buy your shares, ain't nothing happening there. Operational risk. Whenever you have internal breakdowns in the way you operate, whether it's from negligence on behalf of the staff, there was some control breach or breakdown, that's operational risk, which can lead to regulatory risk, because you will have perhaps the regulator coming on site doing an examination. You guys will be examined. You work in the financial sector. You're examined all the time, right? And they do test you, and when they discover gaps, that's the issue. It's written down in their report, in their audit report. That's a major issue with the regulator, and of course, that could lead to, again, regulatory risk, damage your credibility with the regulator. you don't want the regulator to keep coming in saying, hey, we told you about this problem before and you didn't get it fixed. They start to question stuff like competency. I've heard a regulator from the central bank, who will be nameless, who said that if you guys don't get this right, we can't withhold your dividend payments. We can't recommend that certain senior members from your staff be removed. And I was like, wow. They mean my bossy. They mean me. I gotta look thing for me. Why start with me? But so they do have that power. Because with the regulator, again, credibility with them, because they put a lot of credibility in what you have to say to them. Because remember, they protect the jurisdiction. They're not just looking at Bank X and Bank B. They're looking at it in its holistic, from a jurisdictional standpoint. Yeah? So if you're the little bad apple in the barrel, what you think they can do with you? I always having a problem with Sarah in the back there. She always give me a problem, man. So you know what? I gotta recommend that Sarah be removed from the board, the chairman of the board. Sarah, you're gonna be removed. Good? And central bank does have that power. Even with the MLROs, you've seen they have guidelines as relate to MLROs, fit and proper. So if you don't meet that criteria, or if you are a MLRO and they see there are a lot of issues coming up as relates to your institution, i.e. Sarah, again, they'll say, you know what, we did certify her as being fit and proper, but based on the issues that keep popping up, it's a big institution, she is a liability, and that could, fester. We recommend that she be removed, and they can revoke your license. Any MLROs in here? From any institution? No? Compliance officers? Oh, yeah, there you go. All right, so I didn't know that. All right, there you go. Ms. Dawn, okay. So you're compliance officer, so you have to be, well, if you're the MLRO, you have to get central bank approval. And they give you a certificate saying, hey, on such and such a date, this person met the fit and proper designation, they're now the MLRO. Yeah? And you don't want to have that revoked. But they reserve the right to revoke that based on information in their remit on you. Issues that.
Is it common for persons, is it common for people to be, use that or?
I've seen it happen. Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. At a particular institution where examiners were going from the central bank, doing their on-site examination, and they're seeing issues pop up, and they're like, well, how did the MLRO miss this? And how did the MLRO sign off on this? There were major red flags, and you asked them, well, did you see this? I don't know. You already know. How you missed that? I don't know. That was a one-off, and they go through. Hey, how you? Ah, all right. There you go. You good? You just anywhere, just. So, like I said, the examiner would be going through the audit protocol, and they will say, okay, I'll pause. So you can just making sure you get it. Citibank, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did welcome those. Oh, okay. Alrighty. Okay, so continuing, we were just talking about the various risks that you would encounter. We're talking about governance and culture, which is going to be a part of your paper and exam. You can hear those words again. Sorry?
No exam.
No exam. But I requested an exam.
What?
Yes.
They slap us with 3 papers.
But you have the choice. You could, but then since you don't want, okay.
Do you have a choice?
No, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice in this. So you prefer to have the paper over the exam?
I know. These papers harder than the AML.
No, it ain't.
Yes, they are.
No, they ain't.
You sound like Miss Artress.
No, they ain't.
Is he not?
No, man. Look at that elbow grease. This one ain't.
A
They
little
are.
bit elbow.
Yeah, man.
The whole elbow.
Yeah, but that's like getting a meal in small portions. Still a meal. That's all. When y'all gonna look back at this and y'all gonna laugh, that's it. But give us something hard here. Y'all gonna laugh at this later on.
Yeah, let's laugh after we pass.
Right now, yeah.
Let's hear funny now.
I guarantee you're gonna laugh.
We far from that.
You will
Yeah,
laugh.
you're right.
You laugh later on. So you don't want to have your credibility damaged with the regulator. You want to be on the good side. You want them to view you as a competent person, especially after they would have designated you as fit and proper. Yeah, with the vetting process. So try not to prove them wrong. Yeah, and when in doubt, with the regulators, it's good to have a good open door with them. I'm not that you're sucking up to them or. Hey, no problem. We just waiting on you. There you go.
Lost track of time.
Yeah, no, that's no. You don't want that.
Okay. Yeah. I could be in the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
A nugget of information for you guys would be to. Yeah. You hear me, Sarah? Okay. So a nugget of information for you guys. Not that you I'd say sucking up to them, but have a good open door with your regulators. One thing I established with the regulators when they came in, they can do that all night.
Sometimes you're on there.
We close the hospital.
Okay. It's a good idea to get to know the regulators, and not just the central bank, whether it's the FIU, Securities Commission, as a point of contact, a point of reference, because no one here knows everything, and I bounce stuff off them all the time. I would call them, hey, your policy, just for clarity, X, Y, and Z. Don't be no fool. Yeah, you don't know everything about governance, risk management, and compliance. So these are the subject matter experts. Even if they're not the subject matter experts, these are the persons who create the policy. Yeah, or who levy the policies and the fines. So why not go to them? I can quote Brian. Brian said to me, I can do X, Y, and Z. And most of the times, they don't have an issue with it. Yeah? So you want to have that kind of rapport with your regulator. And it makes sense. I have a lot of them on speed dial. I no fool. Especially before they come in to do their on-site examination. Anyone in here ever had to do on-site examinations? Prepare for those? It's never fun, right? And you gotta, the examiners, they want a bundle of information, and the deadline and the timeline is so short, and you have to spin on the dime. But the good thing with me, because I've had that rapport with them, they'll say, you know what, Taylor? Give me X, Y, and Z when we get on property. We know you have it, so, we give you extra because of what? To have, to be able to do something like that? Yeah, man, you can't be no fool.
So
Then-
tell us, sir, we can get a handout of all this?
No.
Okay, we start writing down.
What's name?
We can give it to you.
Then you have,
He's in that.
Okay.
yeah, I may not have enough copies,
She
but
almost right, I like
she
the
getting
way
one
that
upon again already, but she is. Then you, of course, you have the obvious, Brian. You have the obvious, which is your money laundering risk, which is very costly, intensive investigation. When you have these type of investigation, does everyone has a corporate security officer at your institution? Or if not an MLRO, corporate security, internal audit? Okay, but that's a start. Okay, woof. You gotta be scared now. You have to have your risk personnel. So when you have these major money laundering scenarios, and don't think for a second that, hey, it never took place at my institution, it probably never happened. 99% of the institutions in Bahamas, dirty money flowing through it before. I know you don't want to hear that. That's the truth. I'm sorry. Sorry to hurt your feelings tonight. But it happens. It just hasn't been discovered. Or you probably never got a court order, or a production order, or a notice to produce information, but it happens. Yeah? And it's very costly, time consuming when you have to go piece together this scenario and you gotta present it to senior management. Okay, this is what's happening. Our client, John Doe, who's from Venezuela, who's a pep, who has some money in this fund, which was tied to Hugo Chavez, which came to our institution. And now it's in the press, all over USA Today, where the money is at a Bahamian financial institution, Citibank, Thompson Boulevard. And they're getting ready to pounce. And they picking on her because she came late. Yeah, so that's an investigation in itself, and it's costly. And guess what? Guess who else sees that? The regulator, because they can ask questions too. The same one who you chummy with can call you, hey, Larissa, I saw your institution in the paper. Hugo Chavez, money went through there. Anything you want to tell us? So when central bank call you and ask that question, then what? We're talking about governance now and accountability. Oh, your response.
What's my response?
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure Hugo Chavez is dead.
Okay, Chavez Jr. then.
It's
Okay.
possible. Are you really waiting for a response, right?
No. I was just putting you on the spot, but it's a scenario, believe it or not, actually happened. When it happened, of course, we have a little committee. I say, okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay, well, it's in the day's paper. Okay, well, I didn't get to see the papers yet. I didn't see it for 10 times, right? But what I will do, well, let me just look at the extract from the paper and I'll get back to you. Yeah, man. Okay, no problem. Click. Call everybody. Hey, meeting room, 5 minutes. Everything you get, everyone. Oh, you can't say this. And then you have your little script and you go through all that craziness and you're like, oh boy. Ron, you know how it is. When we have to do all that juggling act and there's a script. And they're like, okay, man, you can't say this. You got legal counsel, no, but don't use that word, you know. It's making us liable. Oh, now you can say that. I have a whole paragraph, and times we finish, 2 sentences. Take all that other stuff out. You're incriminating us. No, we can't take that. No, we can do that. Brian, you should know. You work at the law firm, and you that's privileged. That's what we keep saying, it's privileged.
It's privileged, right? But
Please
Brian
don't see it.
Brian don't see it.
Mhm.
Aren't you the MLR over there?
No.
No?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Speak
Oh,
it,
sorry.
speak
Oh, sorry.
it, speak
Speak
it.
it. That is it. Speak it.
Speak it, speak it.
And then you have your financial risk. Ultimately, you try to avoid that. Because remember we started off talking about the profits, and with all these major scandals, when it's so profitable, even sometimes when it's dirty money, that's the only thing keeping your business open. You can turn a blind eye, but the financial risk means that there are possible fines and penalties. Again, that's regulatory scrutiny. You don't want that because you don't want to be known as the institution of choice for financial criminals. Yeah? You know why? They talk. Go down the road to, anyone from Scotia in here, right?
Their name in on the list.
Okay, go down the road to Scotia Bankers, anyone can get in there, go down the road. So, you don't want to be stigmatized like that, yeah?
Okay.
Reputation is all you got. But in the handout, it's not bolded, right? But 2 of the biggest risks you want to highlight, especially in your papers, would be reputational risk and financial risk. Those are the 2 biggest ones. Because when you see Wells Fargo, they have to pay a penalty of $187 million. And guess what? That's a drop in the bucket. They just wrote a check and say, yeah, go away, regulate.
Yeah.
Deutsche Bank
Yeah,
is
they want like-
Yeah, because they just pay, that's because Brian,
They must
They
get
insure
about
too.
that much money to burn it.
They insured too, they have insurance. so
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
still insurance, I bet you can.
$1 billion
get on that,
ain't
they
nothing
cut
to
you
them.
off. So-
$1 billion is nothing for them. They can write that off. Now, $1 billion of the Bahamas? That's your GDP right there. And the bank can just write it off and say, no problem, no big thing. When you're a big top 10 bank like that, you cannot allow them to fail. Does that make sense? You can't afford to have a big bank fail. You know how much people tied to that institution? Loans, we even talk about political connection, the economy. So everything is tied to those big institutions. Hey, how are you? All right. So, yeah. So, when you think about the governance again, just a quick recap. When you think about the governance, of course, it's being accountable. But in the spirit of what we're talking about, it's really risk. Yeah? And these are just some of the risks. It's not an exhaustive listing of your risk. Yeah? But these are some of the major risks that you need to be aware of. Especially when you have to draft those papers, you want to hit on those type of risk. And especially when you start writing on the risk and you get the fines and penalties, you want to indicate those hefty fines and cite some of the more, I would say the top 5, top 10 cases. And not really the older ones. But no one, when you start talking about them back in the early 90s, they don't care about them. If you got the more recent ones, and you can show the long-term ramifications of those, yeah, especially those ones that cause policy change, stuff like that. Yeah, you wanna cite those. So you have to be accountable because you have to deal with risk. Yeah? Yes, you're gonna make the profit, but there's risk attached to profit. There's risk attached to your name, your reputation, your operation, your relationship with your regulator, of course, money laundering, and then you have to protect your assets. So you can't have all your relationship managers making money, meeting their targets, exceeding their targets, but then you have to pay it out in fines and penalties, because that affects the bottom line. And remember we started talking about the governance is held by who? The board? So when you go before the board, you're the little Miss RM, district manager, whatever you wanna call it. You had a profit of 20 million. Yay! We paid out 10 million in fines and penalty. Ooh! Because you started off at a high, then you became deflated. So when you reported it to the board have to report it to the shareholders. Heads typically roll. Yeah? I remember that word accountable?
Yes.
So you have to be mindful of those stuff. Governance. In your paper, you perhaps want to. Hey, how you? All right. All right. So no. Anyway. No, this desk is a little shaky. So anyway, Sarah ain't got no one on the side.
Sarah tell you she don't feel good. Give Sarah.
That's Sarah say last week she didn't feel good. Not this week.
Yeah, that's Sarah.
Leave my Sarah alone.
So you may want to start off too in your paper there, and not giving like a 10-page dissertation, but give a brief overview of governance to show that you have a working definition of it. Governance describes the overall management approach through which senior executives direct and control the entire organization using a combination of management information and here, get high tongue-tied with it. Y'all know that word. Y'all know that word, right? Management control structures. You know the word. I get tongue-tied with certain words. Y'all know that from the last class. So with the board depends on middle management. The line staff feed into middle management, which is fed into the board. Be aware of that, yes?
Yeah.
So the board depends on those reports that they always pressuring you for. And among reports, I need those stats, I need that code, I need those figures. It has to go to the board. So they depend on combination of management information fed into them, because information that's fed into the board, this is how they make decisions. Yeah? And that's why they always get on you and they say, it has to be accurate, because this is going to the board. It is going to the board. It has to be correct. The reason why I said that twice is because in some of those scenarios and those scandals, erroneous information was going to the board. The board was reporting erroneous information just to make the book look healthy. Yeah, and the board was reporting to shareholders, yeah man, all is great, whatever. But that was not the case when the scandal broke, or the scandals broke. Yeah? Governance activities ensure that critical management information reaching the executive team is sufficiently complete, accurate, and timely. So if you're on the board, you're operating on the premise that the information that comes within your remit is accurate and is timely, and this is how you base your decision on. So the question is this: should the board go to jail when they report on all these erroneous information and all that stuff?
Yeah, but are they accountable for that?
Accountability. You remember we started off by saying accountable. So regardless, the fact that you're the top, you're the decision maker, you're held accountable. So you're all in a rush to be on the board. When head rolls, they typically start with the chairman and the board members.
The benefits.
Remember BP&L? You see how quick they get rid of the board? Boards could be changed in an instant, if necessary.
Yeah.
Someone have to be held accountable. You ain't gonna hold the fellow who got on the pole, right? To change the street lights, right? No. It starts with the head. The quickest way to kill a snake is to chop the head off. Yeah? The information that is passed on to the board should be sufficiently complete, accurate, timely to enable appropriate management decision making. And provide the control mechanisms, because the board speaks to controls. they have oversight for that too, because they have to assure the shareholders, yes, we're making a profit, and we do have in place the appropriate controls to mitigate against any risk, which includes money laundering risk. So you have to give the assurance as the board. So see why you're held accountable? You're the one who say, yes, I'm doing all of this. I'm getting all the information. It's timely. I got everything in check. I got everything. I got it. So if you telling every John Doe public, I got everything covered, and if something go wrong, who should I monkey stump? Him, right? Okay. And that's why you're getting paid the big bucks. Yeah? So whenever you have the board meeting, you get a check for $1,000 just for a 1 hour meeting, because you're making the decision. Make sense? So you want to sit on the board? No? You don't get on one of them board? No?
You're right.
You don't be on the board? Okay. I ain't gonna lie, I was trying to get on board one time, boy, but it's a conflict with our institution. We have a policy against that. So, anyhow, I ain't getting into that, but so, be good with governance. You have to have that working definition of governance. You don't have to write a dissertation, but be able to demonstrate, depending on the question, that you have an idea what governance is. Accountability, those, they like sexy words, we call it. Accountability. No, it sounds crazy, but they're key words that, that jump out. When they hear words, they go to the board. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Decision maker. Manager. Yeah? Control oriented. Certain keywords that just jump out when you think about the board. When you start talking about governance, overall management, you have oversight of that. You hear it all night. No, just ignore it. After a while, it don't matter. Which brings us to, we're talking about governance. So, let's expand a bit. What is corporate governance? If management is running the business, it's all about running this business now, this company. Corporate governance is about seeing that it is run properly. Basically, corporate governance is ensuring that it's run properly. It's being run because it's a business. But how is it being run? Corporate governance really, in short, this is just a short way of saying it should be run properly. There should be a hierarchy, there should be a pecking order, there should be a structure in place. Corporate governance really means it should be run properly. All companies need managing and governing. Keeping it short. Question, did everyone get to read their manuals yet for section 3?
Half of it.
You said half of it?
No, from section 3.
You mean
Only
chapter
half?
3?
Yeah, well, chapter 3 section.
Yeah, half.
It wasn't good reading? You didn't like it?
It's alright.
Well, what I did, I read it, and then this is how I did what I have here. I did like my little extract, put my little spin on it, like how I normally do. But this is supplemental. You still have to read it to get information and do some additional reading, whether it's the internet, whatever. Yeah. So it's not just exclusive to the book. Yeah. You would have to do some additional reading. So, you know what governance is, risk management and compliance. You know what corporate governance is. It's running the corporation properly or managing it properly. It's being managed all along, but you have to have structure in place and you have to have oversight. That's what proper corporate governance is, in short, or the gist. We would have covered this on some new faces in here. The new girl, you wouldn't know, but this governance framework, really what it is, the AML governance framework. So what is corporate governance? The question is being posed. Corporate governance refers to the way in which companies are governed and to what purpose. It identifies who has power and accountability. You keep hearing the same word again. You cannot get away from that word, accountability. All governance is, when the police come knocking on the door, who we locking up? Oh, the MLRO, that's his office right down. You go to the left, he right there. Sheriff, they looking for you. They got a money laundering matter here, they need to find the MLRO. Yeah, Sarah right down is wearing black. The first person they carry is who? The MLRO.
Yeah.
That's the person. Why? Because you are accountable. You're the person who was vetted, who was deemed fit and proper, who signed and swear, who signed off on all those transactions. So you got your big signature there, you getting the big pay. Yeah, I'm MLRO. Yeah, you're the MLRO. So when something go bad, you know what I learned about being the MLRO? When you're doing a good job, no one hears about it. When something go wrong, all the lights on you, you're like, yeah, everyone calling me all of a sudden for like, everyone, oh, I being the MLRO at my institution, right? It's a funny thing, because you know in governance too, accountability, some people shift it too now. The senior managers say, oh, that's the MLRO function. When things being really good, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, no issue. Something go bad, yeah. I got a call from the commissioner of police, and they say be involved, and I said, yeah, that's something you need to look into, right? I said, well, who name on there? The managing director name on it, but you know. I said, okay, no, I'll look into it. Yeah, and Central Bank, when they call you know, you could go to jail for 2 years, right? They always remind you about that. You the MLRO, right? And I said, yeah. So it's a lot of pressure. You are the accountable person. So with the corporate governance, it identifies who has power, because in that corporate structure, remember we talking about corporate governance, it speaks to the well running of the proper running, and in that proper running there are persons who have power and accountability, and who makes decisions. MLROs make decisions every day. For example, you make a decision whether you're going to file a STR. The board make a decision whether they're going to do a dividend payout or whatever. Once you make decisions and you're accountable, that's where a lot of the risk would lie. Yeah? Brian, you see what happened in there? Once you wear that hat, and you have that power, whether it's the senior management, board, MLRO, senior executive, and you have some degree of accountability, and you can make decisions, yeah. That's because you have that, because you should be that risk manager. Yeah? It is, in essence, a toolkit that enables management and the board to deal more effectively with the challenges of running a company, corporate governance. Because when do you have a corporate governance manual at your institution? No? You may call it a different name. Do you have AML policy?
Yes.
Okay, do you have governance policy? Okay, maybe a different name. But the central bank or the examiners, external examiners, when they come in, they always ask, let me see your policies and procedures. Do you have any, your mission statement, your this and that? They want to see it and see if it lines up to what you're telling them. That's really your corporate governance. That's what governs you. Even if you never look at it, because some people just have it on the shelf and they just take it on and all the dust come off. No, some people never read it. I'll be honest with you. People call me and myself and Deron all the time. They say, hey, the AML policy, where do I find that? I say, well, how long you been working here? 20 years. I said, well, you've never seen it? Well, where is it located? It's on the internet. Okay, I'm on the internet now. Where do I go? Turn your computer on. It's on the first page. And they're like, oh, it's there. Yeah, click the first that. Yeah, click that. That's it. Oh, I found it. It's right here. I said, well, damn, you never look at it? No, but every year you come to me and we have a little test and they say just a sign that you read it. And people don't read it until something happens. Yeah. It's like that. You know that there's the hatchet must be by the fire extinguisher in the hall. You break the glass in when there's fire. That's the only time they'll even notice that. Corporate governance ensures that businesses have appropriate decision-making processes and controls in place to adhere to regulatory requirements. So you're going to have regulatory requirements to keep you guys out of jail and ensure that you're in line with best practices and international standards. Yeah? And corporate governance speaks to that. That ensures that you have all of those stuff in place. And that encompasses your AML policy perhaps, risk policy, your manuals. All of that is a part of corporate governance. That make sense? Yeah? So now we go into those regulators, those guys who we be calling all the time, or who calls us all the time when there's issues or they're going to do the examinations. The regulators expect a lot from us. They do. Why? Because the person's at the tip of the spear. You remember the tip of the spear, who I said was the tip? Who was the tip of the spear? It's just figuratively. When I say the board is at the tip. So if they're at the tip of the spear, they should be the ones who set the tone. You ever heard this saying, don't do what I do, do as I say? Because if they're doing foolishness, what you think the frontline staff can be doing? Foolishness. They gotta set the tone for how corporate governance should be run. See what I'm saying? And they should have full oversight, and there should be a degree of awareness in the institution. Yeah? Like the lady called me and said, well, where's the policy? Hey, you already aware that we have a policy? We have an AML policy, we're a bank. How could you not know we have an AML? You serious? How long you been here? 20 years? And you didn't know we had a policy? So the regulators have expectation that senior management, i.e. the board, senior executives, they should set the tone. They should lead by example. They should have full oversight, meaning they should be accountable. That word keep coming back. And then there should be an awareness in the organization on the corporate structure and corporate landscape, corporate governance. There should be awareness. You should know that it does exist. You can't come in the organization and say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know you couldn't do that. Carry your laptop home and download all kind of movies on Netflix on the bank computer. Really? You didn't know that? How could you not know that? Or start installing all kind of stuff on the bank's computer. You going home and your children, they, well, maybe you want to play this and that. Okay, see the bank computer over there, go play it over there. I ain't got time to deal with it, I gotta go cook. And the children over there downloading all kind of stuff on the bank computer. You gotta give a board presentation the next day and make him out sure. Would that be embarrassing?
Yes, yes.
Did it happen at your institution?
No.
No?
No.
I guarantee it happened at my institution. Your swipe card wouldn't work the next day. Well, the same day, because they would take it from you. You can't do things like that. So regulators do have expectation. Basically, it's a standard. You should be held at a high standard. It trickles from the top. They set the tone. They should have full oversight. Everyone should be aware, because we do have in place a corporate policy and structure. Make sense? Continuing with the regulatory expectation, this is what the regulators expect from how we say it, actions the board and senior management should take to promote an effective AML compliance programs include, but not limited to, Brian, I see you opening your eye wide, define the organization's AML risk appetite. Basically, you gotta know what you can tolerate. You take on any client? Is there any John Doe or Joe Blow could walk in? Or just come in? Fella come in, go ahead, sorry.
I said I gotta be better.
Yeah, you have to have an appropriate risk appetite. Yeah? Think about it like this. You go to a buffet. There's only so much you can eat. Right? It ain't make no sense trying to be a pig, right? You know what your stomach could hold.
You talking about Bahamians now?
Well, no, we ain't using Bahamians. We using Chinese. Skinny Chinese. Okay, so you have to have a, you know what I mean, man. You have to have a risk appetite. This is all we can take on. Because of the associated risk, we're not prepared to take this risk on. We may not have the controls in place, the manpower, the resources, but this is what we're prepared to take on. You have to have a risk appetite. One of the changes in the organization's risk profile, again, this goes back to tolerance. What can be tolerated? Ensure AML compliance officer role is sufficient seniority. At your institution, the compliance officer, is that a senior person?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, so they can stand alone, they are above the front line and mid management, so they can make some serious decisions. That's the way it should be. You should have a sufficient level of seniority. The compliance department has adequate resource, funds, money, training, all the equipment they can think of. Yes?
Sure.
No, I'm talking about in theory. In practice, you have all of that, right? In your compliance department, right? All the resources, money, staff, everything you all need. Because we don't. I'm just trying to figure out how you all do it, please tell me. Because we don't. And we only have 8 compliance officers in our office.
That's a lot. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Plenty.
How much more you need?
Some is only
that ain't enough, the amount of work they give us. That's not enough.
So y'all hiring?
No.
No, they just put a freeze on it. They said profits look good, so they don't want to mess that up. So, you remember we
Close to
talked?
Christmas.
But that too. But you remember we started talking about the profits? They say, okay, we reporting to the shareholders. Hey, we looking good. Profits look good. Now you're gonna hire 10 more people. We gonna wait until
January.
not maybe March. I mean, start thinking about it. But now, you don't fool around the profit. Just late in the game. No boy. Roles and responsibilities of all 3 lines of defense are clearly defined. Do you know what the 3 lines of defense are, right? Anyone ever heard of that? 3 lines of defense. First line would be your
Business.
front line, second line would be your
Compliance officers.
compliance, and third line would be your internal audit, and external auditors or regulators. So you have 3 lines to catch any major risk, AML related. Yeah. So tie performance evaluations and compensations. Remember we was talking about the performance? This is the time of the year when everyone want a bonus. Everyone want a Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. My boss will tell me every year from like around, start from June, she say, boy, things rough. Every year. I'm like, why we still open? Every year they still, well, things so rough. But thank God you got a job, right? That's like, I've been hearing this for the last 8 years. I mean, like what? I mean, I thought that, and then they start talking about the housing bubble in 2008. I thought we, 2018 now, 10 years later, we still talking about that. This year, just thank God for something. I mean, if you get something, you only want to make sure your family got a roof over their head. And I said, yeah.
That's why you get 1,000 and she get 500,000. That's all.
My boss brought a tear to my eye one day. I'll hear this again now.
It's gonna be on
My,
YouTube.
oh shoot, they're recording.
No, it's not.
Well, anyway, let's stay focused now. No, I just say, I don't care if they record because, okay, I can whisper it. Okay, all right, let's pretend that ain't right. So my boss, I had to go into Cayman. My boss was, she was based in Cayman. So I flew over there and we were trying to do this acquisition of this little financial institution that was, going belly up, he's trying to acquire it. And she was there talking, she's like, oh, last year was such a rough year. I was only able to buy my son a BMW for Christmas, all of my bonus. And I just sitting there listening to her, right? And I just in my mind, I just said, I so hate you. And she just was saying, and this is a rough year, and how she only was able to go home with 60,000 for Christmas. And I just saying to myself, 60 grand, you know what I can do with that? If I get 60,000, I can play sick for at least 3 weeks. I don't need to wait for 3 weeks. I got the States. I can tell you now.
Shopping
They
there.
ain't gonna see me for at least 3
Big
weeks.
Walmart.
Yeah, I got in Walmart now, but they ain't gonna see me for what? $60,000? Well, the wrong name is talk, though. I gotta get off the island quick. But 60 grand. And she was complaining, and I was just saying, wow, really? But when you start talking about regulator expectation, this is what the regulators expect now. This isn't something that I came up with. This is even in your books, by the way. Regulators expect that they tie performance and into compensation. When you're being evaluated, if you're doing a good job, the regulators expect that you get paid to correlate with your performance. That's the international best practice. So if you go to work now and your boss ain't treating you right, and you know you're working hard, then something ain't, but don't look at me like that, Deron. So if your boss ain't treating you right, and you know you're exceeding when it comes to performance, then that's an issue. Perhaps that's one you want to take with HR. Yeah? But then that could lead to a risk too. That could lead to whether it's fraud or defalcation or something like that. Especially if you're a high performer. That could lead to those kind of risks. But you see how risk creeps up again in this thing? I worked hard this year though. No. But yeah, I did work hard. Last year it was slacking off. But this year I did work hard, but then she started from the job. Well, man, I said, yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, whatever. How much time I talk about scorching a car? Okay, so we go on to the next slide. The purpose of regulatory compliance. We have the regulators there, they have expectation, but then you have to be in compliance with their expectation. So in general, compliance means conforming to a rule such as a specific policy, standard of law, and every day we got some new standard. International standards change every day. You have general circulars, you get best practice, you got central bank saying we should try this. Ease of doing business, let's try doing this, let's try doing that. IMF come in and they suggest you do certain things. And when they come and they suggest, let's be real.
Better do it.
One guy gonna catch no plane to come over here and tell you to suggest doing this. When you hear them say suggest, you always think about medicinal marijuana, cryptocurrency and all them stuff. Ain't no one suggesting. That's the way the world is moving. Yeah? Regulatory compliance describes the goal that organizations aspire to achieve in the efforts to ensure that they are aware of and take steps to comply with relevant laws. So when you hear regulatory compliance, basically it means, hey, all these laws, all these international best practices, we got to figure out how we can be in line with them. That's regulatory compliance. Because if you don't, all those risks I spoke about earlier are possible. And you don't need to have the regulator on your back. Yeah? Anyone familiar with the words deficiency? I hate them because, you know, when you got a deficiency, then the regulator calling you in a minute, you know you got a deficiency, and then your timeline is due, and you got to do all kind of stuff to remediate and all that stuff. I hate deficiencies. And then they calling you, and then you got all these little meetings, and you ever had to chase down staff information to close a deficiency? That is the worst thing. You got to be running behind them because regulators have expectation. Hey, on such and such a date, you can close this deficiency. I gotta be running behind staff, and the sad thing is, they dance right over there. I can see them, and they can see me seeing them, and they, you know, they wouldn't. It's just a matter of sending an email. You ever had one of those experiences? And I'm looking at them, and they looking at me, and they like, you calling me with that deficiency, have you? Why I gotta call you? You right? You would see me. Just give me the information. Let's go to Central Bank, close this stupid thing, you know. And it happens every day. You know, regulatory compliance. You have to be in line with the regulator's expectation, the laws, best practice, and your internal policies. Yeah? Okay. So we good with that. But there are consequences for non-compliance. Brian, you remember these stuff, man. Like the first one, loss of license. We don't want that. That is really the kiss of death. Because if you think about it, your license get suspended at Graham Thompson today, you can't do no business. If you're a financial institution and your license is revoked, your staff, when they come here tomorrow, all 900 they come marching every day. You can't conduct no business, no transaction, because you don't have no license. All they can do is go down Bay Street and picket it. Because there's no license, you can't operate. That's the kiss of death. Reputational impact, we spoke about that earlier.
But how likely do you see that like happening?
I've only seen it happen once in my lifetime here in the Bahamas, because you got to be careful with your words too, because that particular institution, they actually volunteered information. Because they're trying to be proactive. They said that they go to the regulators and said, I know you all saw something in the paper, but we did that. They thought in good faith they were doing some stuff, and the regulators said, yeah. And the international community saying that. That's why you got this thing called legal and compliance. Don't rush to go do nothing. We always say, well, don't rush. When we have draft responses, we look at it. We put that in what they call a draft form. And you know when you Outlook, that's in draft book, what, 48 hours? Then you got another team look at it. You got regulatory affairs, legal, the managing director. The board have a quick meeting where they have to come together, some ad hoc meeting, and everyone look at that and they say, all right, okay. And everyone's looking at that. But then when you speak out a line and say, yes, we know about the money going through, and we know that after the fact, and you never did make a suspicious report on that, and it's in the international arena, and you start thinking jurisdictional wide now. So they say, you know what? Obviously, y'all got some competency issues over there. So time out. We can suspend your license for 2 weeks.
So I mean, I would be curious to. I mean, that's why I would be curious to know what happens when the license is revoked. So you write checks for all the people who have money in their bank. You can tell you write them a check and tell them, hey, come for your money. Hey.
Well, let's put it like this. Everything is suspended. I know you open your eye while you poison fish. The thing is, when they say suspended, that means that's what it is. It's suspended. So what could you do if you don't have a license? Essentially, you don't.
But if I owe them money, that means I don't gotta pay.
It's in the no. I ain't saying that. It's in the public domain. It's in the public domain. But then you're hurting your reputation again, because they say Bank Brian was suspended today by the central bank pending an investigation. So, you know, people can be calling there like, hey, Brian, what's going on? I can get my some money, what's going on? Oh no, I can't do nothing right now because I essentially don't have a license. I can't do anything right now. Oh, Brian, I just let you know I know you live now, Brian. So when I get my money. It happens. And of course, in that particular scenario, that institution, they changed the name. The first person got fired was MLR, by the way, just so you know. And the compliance team, they got fired. Yeah, so it's sad, man. So they got to show the regulator they were serious. So the compliance team, brand new compliance team, changed the name, cleaned the roundabout. You know, they were taking pictures. You know, the rotary thing, they kiss some babies and all that stuff. So you do what you gotta do. Damage control, we call it.
But some persons like lose like part of their licenses. Like for example, maybe your license to do, let's say, banking, trust. If their default on section, let's say trust, and they would lose that side of it, while they still be able to maintain other services.
It's a case by case basis. It depends on how egregious it is, the fallout. Yeah. But in that particular scenario, you're talking about it affect the jurisdiction.
No.
And it was out there, and they volunteered. I guess in good faith, you know. I can't say no, madam. You trying to look?
It's not public?
No, I'm not gonna. It was while I was a regulator. I mean, I don't. I just thrown it out there. But it actually happened. I can't speak to that. You won't put it in your baby? Yeah, no. I give you some other scenarios you could put in there, but it did happen. It did happen. Okay, nice try though. So, loss of confidence from depositors. And remember, I mean, if I bank with you, Brian, and if you bring in all kind of dirty money, I ain't got no confidence in you. So when you see loss of confidence, I mean, I don't know if I can trust you no more, Brian.
I can borrow from you, but I ain't busting it.
I don't know if I want to do business with you no more. Because if you got who wants to have their clean linen mixed with dirty linen? I don't know if that makes sense. Why would you want your clean money commingled with dirty money? Think about it. If my clean money is in his bank, and then they restrain the whole institute, everything, I can't get my money. You putting me at risk, Brian. I hate you, Brian. You putting my money and assets at risk now. You see what's happening? So I would lose confidence in him. First thing that happened was a lift, a legal thing. I get my money out, go on to another institution. I don't want my money by Brian no more. De-risking. That's another major one. Correspondent banking, you heard about those de-risking where some big banks in the United States say the Caribbean is hot right now. And they say, you know what? De-risking is essentially just cutting ties because the risk in their minds is just too great. That's what they say AML. So they say, you know what? I don't care if you put all kind of controls in place.
It's the jurisdiction.
Right now, I just ain't feeling the Bahamas. So I can just cut ties with them. It's de-risking. And you don't want that. So you see how the spin-off could be just one institution? Because out there, because all of us get a black eye. So the regulators have to set an example. So sometimes it's like, why are they so hard on them? They have to. Damage to credibility, we spoke with the regulator. You want to be on the same page with them. They want to see you as someone who is competent and credible. So when you say, hey, all is in order, I can take your word for it. You know, I don't have to, you say it's all in order. Okay, great. So when I go to IMF or the other central banks, other regulators, I can say, yeah, man, I took the word of Brian. Then Brian called me the late night,
About that.
yeah, about that thing, right? Earlier I said that all was in order, but I find 100 other crooked clients I have on my books. I be talk about it in the morning. As a regulator, I can't sleep now. Brian didn't put that in my head. His credibility, what happened to it? Been gone. Been gone. Sanctions and fines. We spoke about the fines and the penalties earlier. And when you get sanctioned, it's like no one want to do business with you. You don't want that. You don't want your name if your institution showing up on the OFAC listed. Say don't do bank with Bank X. You don't want that. OFAC, by the way, is the Office of Foreign Asset Control. It's a part of the United States Department of Treasury. Which brings us now to, we started off by talking about culture. We also talk about governance and culture. And we really, it goes back to accountability and attitude. Culture and training goes back to attitude. Yeah? You ever heard a staff member saying, I ain't no nigga teach me, but I been in this business for 20 years. Ain't no one can tell me nothing but no banking. I been here 20 years. All you need is a little passport photo on the little yellow card. And that's all you need. Boy, listen here. You know how much information you need to open one account now? They still thinking back in them 20 years ago, all you need was a little passport picture and someone to say they know you. They don't work like that no more. Culture and training. The business is being evolved every day. Yeah? So money laundering is very sophisticated. And crimes is a very sophisticated crime, but we must be equally sophisticated. This was the former U.S. Attorney General John Areno. She said that so if money laundering is sophisticated, it's constantly evolving. So that means you, the practitioners, have to be. Yeah, and the sad thing is you can never be ahead of the criminals. They got two things you don't have: money and time. They got plenty of assets and they got plenty of time. They wake up every day trying to figure out how to be ahead of you. And they spend money on accountants, lawyers who educate them. So if I got my lawyer and I sitting down, you know, we having breakfast, tell me how do I launder this? Having breakfast, you the week, 9 to 5, they educating me. They got money and time. So let's go with that. So culture and training is very important. This is going to be shown up in your paper too, because how do you mitigate against this, or how do you remediate? You have to get to change that mindset. So the culture have to change in training, because a lot of institutions, they talk about training, but they don't really train. Yeah? Some institutions, they have AML training, which is 20 minutes. Before the bank open or they're in a rush, they say, just sign this paper, say you had AML training, so the regulator come in. But do they really get training? Do they really know what to look for? They know what risk is? Do they have an appreciation for risk? Yeah? So what is good compliance culture? It isn't just words. Because everyone can say, oh yeah, just a good culture where everyone doing what they're supposed to do. I can pick up the pace, Narissa. So culture, a culture of integrity is generally characterized by organizational values. I can pick up, I mean, at any point y'all can tell me stuff, we can finish for the next week, I mean, if you all want. I mean, I don't want to go too far into it, so we can say something for next week, I mean, no? Okay. So, we're talking about culture again. Culture is really who we are and what we do. And it does include attitudes. Yeah? You ever hear, oh, that's just behaving, that's just us. I got a staff member, every time she's talking to me, she's do this. And I'd be like, I'd be looking at her like, what that all about? And she like, and I go to lunch, and I get it, and I just be like, what? But that's just the culture, I guess, you know, and I just stood there looking at it, you know, and I was like, but I guess. Huh? That's just her.
No, she's talking.
She's like, I getting ready to go to lunch right now. You ain't got a problem me taking an early lunch, right? Why you gotta do all of that? I ready for you. Why you gotta keep doing that every time she's on the night? She have a what?
One of the Muppets.
You never see people doing that foolishness? When she talking, and like, it don't make no sense to me. But I mean, teach them. Huh?
Just to say she going to lunch. Y'all not having an argument or anything.
No, that's
She
just.
said you bought her enough.
That's it, you
She
know.
made you go to lunch. So what you coming to me for right now? Talking with you.
Don't make no sense. But anyhow. So we're talking about good compliance culture. You know? And culture really is who we are, and it goes back to attitudes too. Yeah? So culture of integrity. You can hear that word again a lot too when you talk about good governance and corporate integrity. You remember I started off by saying you gotta protect your name? Integrity is doing the right thing when ain't no one looking. So ain't no one gonna tell you to be a good person, you know? You're just gonna be a good person. So a culture of integrity is generally characterized by organizational values. A set of clear values that, among other things, emphasizes the organization's commitment to legal and regulatory compliance, integrity and business ethics. So ain't no one gonna tell you, you ain't gotta cheat them out. I mean, you ever saw some staff members, they sneak in. You know they gotta be the way for 8:30, right? I ain't calling no names, right? But they supposed to be the way for 8:30, right? But 9 o'clock, at 9 a.m., I looking through the blind and I just watching them turning the computer on. I just said, look at this foolishness, eh? Look at this foolishness. Just look. Turning on the computer at 9 o'clock. I said, look at this. Integrity. But I ain't calling no names. So, a culture of compliance goes beyond. A culture of compliance goes beyond once a year mandated training. Yeah? Because good compliance is doing the right thing every day. Between 9 to 5, and even when someone is not watching you, you're adhering to the rules. You don't put on a show when you see the manager around. You know? I'm working hard, boss. Look at me, boss. I'm working hard. You don't have to. You know those. You ever seen any of those type of persons? No. Yeah, you got some folks like that who put on a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is my Nokia again.
They from the snake
Yeah.
Yeah, she
What?
no, she asked her.
Stay around this.
This one's so loud.
You make us loud?
No, drug dealers is useless phones.
Don't respond. Kitchen to respond. Don't respond to her. Kitchen. Tell her don't come at you like that.
You lost my words.
A culture of good compliance. I hate you, Nerissa. A culture of good compliance goes beyond that once a year meeting, where you meet for like a couple of minutes and say, okay, we do the AML training. It goes beyond that. It embeds compliance in the everyday workflow and sets the foundation expectation, individual behavior across an organization. Basically, you just do the right thing, and not just for fluff, or when you see the boss or whatever. Yeah? And good environment of compliance also, if you see something that's out of the ordinary, or something that's unusual, you report it. That's good compliance too. It goes both ways. It's not just doing the right thing, it's like, listen here, or keeping to yourself, or staying out of problems, but if you see issues, you have to report it. Whether it's the whistleblower hotline, unusual activity, you need to report it. Yeah? Creating an effective compliance culture, because you may have to remediate your response, perhaps, in your question. So unlike policy documents or procedure manuals, the culture of an organization and its attitudes towards the risk of money laundering are intangible. Yeah? They're innate, they're internal to you, and therefore difficult to both assess and influence. Nearly all institutions provide some level of training. And you know they have that we can just do the AML training. Do you really walk out of there feeling empowered like he was learning something in some instances? Like you're just going through the motion and you're like, oh, okay, this is ING. Yeah, all right. Okay, we have what, half hour, all right. Regulator order the ox. Give them a copy that they'll go away. Yeah?
It should be a training program too. So you have,
Yes.
you should have the KYC
Yes.
seminar or training module, you know?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it's good to
And
have.
sometimes a quiz too is required.
Oh, we do have quiz now. You have to
They
pass that.
pass?
Oh, yeah, you gotta pass that. 85%. And you take it 10 times.
So they
You
learn
gotta
something,
pass it.
I guess.
Oh, yeah, you have to. And we actually changed the question because they got on me, because I changed all the questions. And some people, they memorize the question and they're like, what the hell, they changed the questions? Yeah, we changed them, changed them.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm the most hated guy over there, but I don't care. So, other useful ideas are to measure employees' attitudes. You see that word again popping up? You see that word popping up, Sarah? You see on the third bullet, other useful ideas are to measure employees' attitudes. It comes back to the attitudes again. Certain keywords the examiner's looking for. Attitudes towards compliance and regulation. Because you have some person who just don't care. Think about it. If you have 1,000 suspicious clients and the relationship manager didn't see nothing wrong with that, what kind of attitude do you think was going on there? I trying to meet my target. I could care less if he was Pablo Escobar. I trying to make my money right now and bring money into the business. How could you miss that? And I have a scenario. I could fast track it to this scenario, or you want me or just play it up? I'm being mindful of the time. Do I just go to the scenario and then come back for next week? Let me go to that case scenario, and then we'll just come back next time. And I start off with case studies, the good, the bad, and ugly. You know, just make it a little theatrical, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to touch on those. It's called Danks Bank case study. Everyone heard about Danks? Yeah, that's the flavor of the month right now, Danks Bank. So if we can touch on this, you can use it as a case study if you so desire. A little backdrop, Danks Bank is a Danish bank. It was founded on the 5th of October, 1871. So that means that's old money.
Old money.
Oh, you can blow
Yeah.
the dust off it. That's old money.
Yeah.
It was headquartered in Copenhagen. It is the largest bank in Denmark and a major retail bank in the Northern European region with over 5 million retail clients. It is one of Europe's most prestigious banks. So you know what I mean? It's one of those banks you just can't fail. Yeah, because of the status. Okay, it was revealed recently that Danske Bank in Estonia, the Estonia branch, had thousands, not hundreds, thousands of suspicious customers. Think about that for a second. Thousands of suspicious customers responsible for 200 billion not million, 200 billion, or the equivalent of 180 billion pounds, which is a lot of money. You could pay some bills with that. Yeah, you could pay our deficit how many times? Many times over.
Many.
You could buy the Bahamas a couple of times.
Oh.
So you got thousands of suspicious customers who are responsible for 200 billion, which is a lot of money, of transactions over a 9-year period. So you got a cloud of transactions over a 9-year period, all suspicious, and thousands of suspicious clients. It was during 2013 that officers at the Estonia branch will begin to realize they're taking on very unpleasant or unscrupulous customers. Customers who would, when they ask, say, I need to get some information, they'll tell you, well, none of your business. And they say, but sir, KYC, you ain't here, they say, none of your business. The bank tried to trace the identity of people hiding behind anonymous corporate vehicles. And I have that bold for a reason. Because you can see that in your paper too. Corporate vehicles. You did a paper on corporate vehicles before.
Right.
You're gonna incorporate that in there too. You talk about corporate governance. So you got this is layered. So people hiding behind these corporate vehicles which had open accounts and were now using them to transfer huge sums of money. Shortly thereafter, staff began to receive anonymous death threats. So you're at the bank and you say, sir, I just need to know who's the counterparty in this transaction for our KYC. And they would say something like, okay, you take my money or lead. And you're like, I don't understand, so what you mean by money or lead?
I don't think that'll be the response.
So you're starting to see what was going on there, right? And they were getting, the staff started to get death threats. So they said, you know what, we can stop asking questions. So you know something wrong. One scheme ran through the branch reportedly involved Azerbaijan's ruling family and 2.9 billion fund used to pay European PEPs. Yeah? So you see it's a high risk there, right? All this was going on, the board was aware. Clients of the bank included the Putin family, the Russian president. So you got Vladimir on your book, and you're like, okay, Vladimir on the book, I get death threats from Russians, people saying stop asking questions. I have more than thousands of suspicious
Transactions that you're doing.
yeah. Ain't no one filing no reports on these poisons. That's some issues going on there, right? And then of course they tell you, you know, well, you want your car to blow up and stuff like that. It's in the papers. And you're like, you can imagine you're a little banker, fella asking you, well, we know you live out easy though. You know, we know you drive a little Celica. You want to get blow up? So, continue with that. The company's chief executive, Mr. Thomas Borgen, he resigned. And the funniest thing about that, if you read the story, even though he resigned, he was kept on to oversee the new CEO and ensure that he was easing in. I'm like, do it. You're the one who saw all this foolishness going on, turned a blind eye, but so the new person coming in, you gotta chaperone him through the process. Of, you know, like, really? He resigned, but he was able to keep his package and everything. I'm like, do it. Your institution, 200 billion. You know, it's 200 billion to go through your books. Suspicious money. And you talking about your package, and they still keep him on as a consultant.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Interesting. Remember we talked about the regulators taking notice? The United States took interest in this matter because if anything touching the United States market, they're very much interested. Correspondent banking. So y'all can include that in there too. Correspondent banking when you start talking with this scenario, because if it touches the United States or Canada or UK, correspondent bank. Big issue. You don't want a correspondent banking relationship risk. That's another risk. The United States Department of the Treasury and the Securities Commission, they reportedly got involved. Reputational damage. If there's a headline that says, I can pick on Bank of the Bahamas for a second, 200 million in fraudulent money went through Bank of the Bahamas in 2017. Did that hurt your image? No, I'm just saying, this is fictitious. No, I'm just fictitious. I'm being recorded. So, this is just something that I just made up. I'm just to show that reputational damage.
How much?
200 million.
Their reputation was for less than that.
Well, that's true too, yeah. Well, yeah, she from Bank of the Bahamas, so you trying to get me in problems.
It was in the papers.
Yeah, but
That's why she
someone
said
in here
last
from there.
Say it.
So, and then of course, you have to be mindful of the possible fines. And be mindful, it isn't just the staff who has personal liability, the institution itself can be fined too. So yeah, of course, you can fire that staff. He gone. We ain't worrying about that one. You can get rid of John, Mary Jane. But the institution's gonna be fined also. Yeah, some hefty fines. So here are some lessons learned. So if you have to write in your paper, what do you learn from that scenario? Reputational damage. Is money laundering scandal at Danks Bank? The headline said, "Is money laundering scandal at Danks Bank the largest in history?" That was the headline. Imagine your institution being known as the biggest money laundering scandal in the history of banking.
My judge just shut down.
That could sting. That could hurt. Regulatory scrutiny. The Denmark's regulator, the FSA, has reopened an investigation. They were already looking at them before, but they closed it and said, that's a little misdemeanor. We slapped them on the wrist. But when the scandal broke, they said, you know what? Let's open that case and any other case we had before with them. That had closed in May of 2018. That's recent. Yeah. Its first inquiry resulted in a reprimand, but no fine. Just a slap on the wrist. Hey, don't do it again. Be watching you or whatever. But after that, now the authority will look at whether senior management. Who is senior management? Well, yeah, not just me, but also your board.
CEO.
Senior management should face legal. So now when you do your typology or your reference, you can say the Danks Bank, you can say senior management, which is who? Your governance, your board. International investigations, it wasn't just restricted to Denmark, it's now global, because money's went all around the world. It involved 32 currencies, companies from Cyprus, they are under the watch, British Virgin Islands, Seychelles. For more than 5 years, staff in Estonia had allegedly raised the alarm. Think about it. So your staff saying, hey, something ain't right, something ain't right, something ain't right. Senior management saying,
Don't worry about that. If it ain't good, it good.
I'll be
Profit
looking.
look good.
Yeah. But senior management again, senior management, the executives turning a blind eye. Profits looking good. You got Brian in the back, they're making noise. That little mouse in the back, they're always making noise. Brian, shh, making money. Relax. 200 billion just gone through us. You are you making noise? 1 or 2,000 bad clients making noise about. Failure of the bank's internal controls. In particular, specifically in relation to high-risk clients, KYC. It wasn't effective. So you could even use that in your scenario. The KYC was not effective. Estonia's financial regulator criticized the bank for underestimating compliance risk and having problems. The regulators told them, hey, y'all got problems with your KYC regime. Get it together. So if the regulator gave you that, that's a heads up. They say you need to get it together. In 2007, Russia's central bank warned them. So you got a regulator again, an external regulator saying, hey, your accounts are being used by the Russian mafia, Russian criminals. They're going to be moving monies at the tune of billions in rubles. Yeah, a month. So you got a regulator telling you, hey, we suspect that millions and billions of dirty money going through your institution. Central bank tell you that, come on, man, A meeting of the executive board noted the level of suspicious activity reported from Estonia, but later in 2000, managers agreed they were comfortable. They said, we ain't see no problems. If you got all these suspicious reports coming from your staff, say, hey, something ain't right with this client, or something ain't right, and then the senior team say, hey, be comfortable. And they sign off, no problem, we don't have an issue with it. That's a red flag. So this is at the top now, remember the tone at the top? So in 2013, Danks head office had no person responsible for AML. For a long period, you had no AML officer who had oversight for AML. How could you operate for that extended period, months, without a compliance function? Think about that for a second. So who watching the chicken cook? Y'all could go to town on this scenario. Yeah? Okay, so Enron. Anyone remember Enron? That's another one y'all could go to town on. I know Brian liked this one. In October 2001, Enron top officials abused their privileges and power, manipulated information, put their own interests above those of employees, and the public and failed to exercise proper oversight. For ethical failings, remember we talked about ethics earlier? So you're doing the right thing when you see these same words keep popping up. You have to use, again, the sexy words in your write-up, in your paper. Yeah? And there's a reason why I have it bolded, and it'll be in your handout too. So when they see these stuff, they'll say, okay, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah? In addition to being the largest bankruptcy reorganization in American history at the time, Enron undoubtedly is the biggest audit failure in the history of audit. So you can't get no bigger than that if you cite that as a case. It is one of the companies which fell down too fast. So I would encourage you to use Thanks Bank on Enron. Those are two really good ones that you can get plenty. Where senior management turned a blind eye, they were just profit oriented. They said they were comfortable. Don't worry about the risk. It'll work itself out. How can it work itself out? In one scenario, you didn't even have a compliance officer for months. And then when they made those reports, all those suspicious activity reports, matter of fact, they are reported to the board. So if you're in the board meeting and the compliance, you didn't have a compliance officer to report it to you anyway, but the report, but you know that it was, so who they was getting those reports to?
Who was giving the report?
So it was like the perfect storm. And you wonder how 200 billion could pass through? Who was monitoring it? No one for months. It don't make no sense. It's not illegal. Because in the Bahamas, a financial institution should have compliance.
No, but they said in the case that it is required.
Yeah, but they didn't. So they were essentially breaking the law. Y'all could have a field day with that. With what went wrong, what was light, whatever. Especially with the executive team, the board turned a blind eye, and the information was fed to them. Like how we started off saying that at the board level, the information they need, effective and timely information. It wasn't an issue with the information coming to them. It's what they did with it. They just say, be comfortable. Yeah, don't worry about that. It'll work itself out. And the thing about it, they admitted this and they resigned and they said, yeah, we saw the trend with the money's coming from these high-risk jurisdictions, possibly unscrupulous persons. They admitted it. Y'all could go to town on that. Thanks, Bank and Enron. Yeah? I'm just saying, unless you get some other scenarios. So lessons learned from Enron. Good corporations establish a structure. Remember we started talking with the structures, with the corporate culture. You have to have a good structure in place, reasonable rules to guide the executive decision making. And the employee behavior, very important. The way the staff behave, and it goes back to attitudes. Throw those sexy words in there, Brian. But the executives who created the Enron scandal shredded its trust and the ethical structure that it had supported. So they didn't even check for the structure was in place. It was just something just to say, we have it, a token. Yeah, we have, what do they call it? What's the word? Overarching theme saying, okay, hey, we're the bank of choice and all that. You know, those little catchwords and all that stuff, but they weren't living it. A good corporation reports accurately and adequately to its shareholders. That was not the case. They were underreporting. Its regulators, its suppliers, and its communities. But Enron reports to the outside world were far from adequate. The most egregious omission was they're neglecting to report the huge debts. So a lot of debts that were out there building up in many partnerships. So they weren't reporting it to make the books look healthy. Yeah? So they're underreporting, over-reporting, whatever. It's still not ethical. It's not correct. And it's coming from your senior executives. So if the tone at the top is be corrupt, be corrupt.
Everything else. Right?
So when that trickle down, then what?
Corruption.
Yeah. Some more lessons learned. A good corporation keeps its employees informed of the developments that would affect its customers, the marketability of its products and services. Enron repeatedly hid information about risky ventures. You know, some stuff which should be made known to staff. Developments adverse to its stock price and other events that work to affect the employees' pensions. A good corporation develops and implements a practical code of ethics. You're going back to that ethics again. It starts with your board, including fair play in dealing with customers, fair treatment, and training of employees. Remember we talked about training earlier? And this is actually lifted from the Enron report. I can pick up the page nurse, I see you. But whatever Enron's statements show, when Enron's bubble burst, most of its key executives seem to have taken care of themselves. You notice that? Again, but whatever Enron's statements show, when Enron's bubble burst, when everything came to the surface,
Every man was
most of its key executives seem to have taken care of themselves and not their partners. They made sure I take care of. I got my little bonus, my pay. They made sure they was taken care of. So if anything go wrong, I good. You can fire me, but I good. At the root, there is an ethical backbone in American capitalism. Enron broke its own ethical back. It's a good. This was just actually an extract from the Enron report. If you go to Google and just type in the Enron report findings, you could go to town on that. But this is just an extract. And I also have in there some topical cases and fines, international banks that were in the news. And I am sorry, Citibank, I know you ain't want to hear that one. But there was a fine for 70 million there. I wasn't picking on you. You don't have to use Citibank in your paper. That wouldn't be right. But you got a few others here, Lloyd Bank, US Bank, TD Bank, that you could refer to. Sorry?
TD Bank was in there.
Yeah, man. So, I know that was a lot for you to swallow. Okay, I'll see you later. No problem, me not out of this meeting when you gotta go. So folks, that's part one. So next week, there were, I think it was like 6 or 7 slides we didn't touch on. Then we look at the question for next week. How does that sound?
Okay.
I have some handouts, but it wouldn't be sufficient for everyone. I think it's only like 10. And I mean, I feel funny giving only 10 persons it, and then the others gonna look at me funny. They're gonna look at me cross, they're like, oh damn, he giving that one, and then, yeah.
Can you send it by email?
Nah, 10 more, you ought to leave the room and just 10 stay. Nice. But it would look,
That's why you should give it up.
I wasn't thinking, I should have, Lord knows, I should have done. Okay, what I can do, this is what I propose to do. I'll give to the 40, only 16 voices here, right? Well, she left, because I mean, let me see, I may but I mean, you will get to see some of the stuff before we even get to the next class, so I guess if you wanna. No? What's that, Ms. Dawn? She said no? I ain't giving him none, so I ain't remember him.
I give mine a week.
Yeah. Let me see if I got, 1, 2, 3. How many questions we got now?
About 12,
I have
probably.
10. Okay. 10. 11. I got 11 for sure. Voice 11. Who's the voice 11?
Excuse me, you go get yours.
All right, Russell. Wait, I share with extra one here. Yeah. Yeah.
Give me one. Look at this.
Okay, to make sure. Okay, you got. Okay, you got one. Look at these. No, that's something different. That's not for you. You got one?
Thank you, Jackie. I come last.
Yeah, you can. Yes, ma'am. Miss City Bank. You got one? Okay. You got one? You didn't get one? Zom, you get one? You got one? No? Yes? Yes, this is one, right? Sorry, you got one? No, there's only one. Yeah, I'm saying something so different. You got? Okay. You didn't get one?
You have another one?
He gave me his one. He gave me his one. That's fine.
He didn't want that.
Okay. No, he gave me his one.
Oh, yeah, he getting them.
Okay.
Sorry, you were asking a question? I'll give you some points. I'll give you some points. I said I got it. I said, but I can give you some.
Yes, exactly. Right? Because you know we can sit at home.
Pardon me?
I can give you some ideas. I can give you some good ideas. You were here the last paper. Yeah, how I went through the last time.
Okay, I'll stand.
Well, no, man. You said, you said what home?
You sound warm. Get off.
See all that.
You better be aware of state.
I will be.
No, it's never the same person all the time.